Hey everybody, it's Norm from Test It, and I'm here at Comic-Con San Diego 2023. I'm here with Barry from Factory Entertainment. Barry, I'm so glad to see these here. You guys at Factory Entertainment create prop replicas.
Yeah.
We have some at the cave. Adam's loved many of them.
Every time we see them, we're like, yes.
And a great license, of course. Star Trek's one of the big licenses you have.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, you guys are diving into miniatures, studio scale miniatures.
Yeah.
Tell me about the FE Masterworks line.
So basically what we want to do here is we want to give people the ability to get the model. It's essentially, if you were Paramount and you were commissioning a filming miniature, this is what you would have gotten back in the day. And it's a lost art, sadly. I mean, we've moved over to, I think, almost 100% digital model making. And that didn't always used to be the case. There were, and it's laughable to call this a miniature when you see this thing, because it's 50-gallon fish tank sized. But that's what we want to do. And it's happened before. People have done this. It's been a while. It's been gone for a long time, and we need to bring them back. And hence, here we are with FE Masterworks to bring back studio scale miniatures to a very small audience of people, because these are hard work, you know that. I mean, there's about 400 hours worth of manpower and labor in one of these, and they're not something for everybody, but they are for the discerning niche collector. And just to have them here at Comic-Con and show them off to people, watching little kids come up and just, the look of joy on their face when they see these things, and that gets you right here because they've never seen anything like this, some of these people.
Well, I think it's not only is there an appetite for having physical models and seeing it in the convention or having it maybe in your part of your collection, but there's also a hunger and appetite for the people building the models, the XILM model makers that you guys are working with to make these. Like all that itch never goes away.
No, and we want to celebrate that talent. It is a lost art, and sadly, some of these model makers, they're not growing any younger, and once they're gone, who will carry on that legacy? And so if we can inspire somebody, you can buy this from us if you haven't got the skills, but wouldn't it be great if somebody got inspired to start building models from this? That would be awesome.
Well, so tell me the brief. When you're working with a model maker to design a prototype of this, you guys are launching a couple ships, 3 of them Star Trek ships, Enterprise A clearly here. It's a wide range. You can start with size, level of detail, how much interior, exterior detail. Tell me about the level that you guys want to go to.
We want to go to the max. I mean, we want to replicate the filming miniature as best we can. If it was on the miniature, we want to replicate it. Obviously, some of the lighting, the miniature may or may not have had, because it would be easier to add the lighting during different effects. But yes, as max detail, max quality, just the Aztecing alone on the hull, the work, and it depends on the model as well. The hardest bit, actually, in the project is picking the ships.
Oh, really?
Which do you pick? Because they're all great.
Yeah.
We get to be the gatekeepers that say, well, we pick these 3 because we love them, but potentially the sky or the universe is the limit. And even if they're modeled, one of the interesting things that's been fun is we've actually started discussing and looking, and we will have some announcements on this soon, ships that have never had physical miniature models. They were all 100% digital.
Right.
It's going to be great to realize them in the physical space and be the first people to make them as a tangible physical object.
Do you have a sense of the type of research and the level of access model makers are getting to make sure this is as accurate as possible? They're obviously building with modern materials, modern technologies, but what's that level of depth?
Well, most of them were involved in or with or tangentially in the original project. So that's number one. They were there on the ground, boots on the ground doing it, so they know what was done and how it was done. And then they have a wealth. I mean, they're not just model makers. These guys have a wealth of just personal experience, but also resource, photographs, behind the scenes. And Paramount gives us phenomenal resource. They have a fantastic archive. The guys that run the archive there are the unsung heroes of Star Trek. They maintain this. I mean, to see it, honestly, you stand there with your mouth open and you just think, it's nirvana for Trek fans, but they do that for people like us as licensees. When we come to them and say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z, and then they provide it for us in triplicate, and it's like, wow, that's an amazing level of detail. But that personal involvement from the model makers themselves, those Polaroids that were taken and not necessarily for any other reason than maybe, nobody thought they were ever going to be, I need a model commissioned for a movie and I need it yesterday. They never thought that they'd be making it again and again and again 20, 30, 40 years later. But yeah, that's straight from the horse's mouth. That's the provenance that you get. And then you have to look at some things that were maybe adapted or adjusted. There were no LEDs on most of these. So how does the light look when it was a halogen bulb? Or how does the light look? Little artistic choices and things. And the main thing make it look good as a display piece. When it sits here and it sort of smacks you in the face with its detail, it's got to jump and punch out at you.
Well, I think that's one of the differences between Star Trek and maybe some of the other science fiction franchises that have beautiful ships. That Star Trek, especially in Star Trek Motion Picture, and talking about the refit, like you really gaze on this ship. They hang those shots on the ship, and that's the experience as a fan watching the movie that I want to have at home. Where like I'm gonna be staring at this for hours. The power's gotta be on. I want every time when I look at this to notice a new detail. Right. And to that point,
and that does happen. I've done that myself. I mean, I feel like intimately aware of this ship, and I vividly remember being maybe like, I don't know, 8 years old, watching the motion picture and seeing that 20-minute sequence of, and I was like, it's real.
Yes.
But it wasn't real. But in my head, it was real, and I was like, wow. And then suddenly, you know, there's some depth to this thing that's not just a ship. But I have been sitting looking at this thing for months and months and months, and I do regularly find myself going, and then, you know, pull out old reference photos. And we were just talking the other day about how, you know, these little gray squares on the nacelles, how they don't appear to be visible on screen, but you take a real nice 4K screenshot and you look, and they are there. Wow. And what are they? Not even a millimeter in diameter, and they're all individually painted too.
I mean, in terms of model making, that level of detail and all the things like the interiors helps communicate scale.
Yes.
Right. I think, you know, we Star Trek fans, we have the technical manual.
Yep.
You know, the Enterprise D is the size of the Paramount parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, what is the Enterprise A? What is that supposed to be? But once you see that interior of the shuttle bay,
and where we can, like in the Arboretum, where you've got little people, the people suddenly give you that, wow, it's a thing. And if you've ever been up close to a big vehicle like a Boeing 747 or a military ship or a vessel, you sort of stand there and you get the breadth of its enormity, and then you sort of can in your head imagine, oh well, I can see how this would sit next to an aircraft carrier or a Boeing 747. You could probably land a Boeing 747 on the ditch.
It's gorgeous, but that's just one of the ships.
Yeah,
Can
just
we take
one.
a look at the other ones?
Absolutely. We have many more.
Let's walk over here. This is massive. I gotta imagine, Barry, when you guys chose to do the Excelsior, it was because of the sheer size of it.
Size, and it's never been done.
Yeah.
There've been other people who've done studio scale models before, and nobody, Excelsior had kind of gotten, I don't know, not forgotten or ignored. It just got lost in the shuffle. I don't know. But it's a beautiful ship. It's big, and we talk about scale, like they're not scaled with each other. Mm-hmm. They are in two different scales, because if this was in scale with that, it would be 7.5, 8 feet long. And there's that famous line, she's a big ship, that kind of thing. And just look at it. I mean, for me, it's really nautical. It looks like a cruise ship. Like you could almost see somebody that has a very naval. But the other beautiful thing about Trek is that these were made, the designs how many years apart, and yet you can show these to anyone, and they immediately know this is a Star Trek ship. It's just one of those things. Oh yeah, Star Trek. I might not know the ship, but I know it's a Star Trek ship.
Well, from the surface aspect detail to just the shape of the saucer, and the angles, it reflects that era too. Like this is the motion picture era of Star Trek. 1 to 6, that's what they had.
So mid-80s, you can see if you look at car design of the time or industrial desigin, the flat with the smooth, it definitely has a retro vibe, but it's still weirdly here in 2023 looks futuristic. I don't know how, what is that, retrofuturism is kind of weird.
In terms of structural stability, talking to modelers, internal structure, we've seen drooping on ships. How are you going to ensure that these stay stable?
They have a full aluminum structure. These are the prototypes. These 3 here are all prototypes. So you'll see we have a rear stand on here just because it's on all the time. It's going to get handled. But the desire for production is to move to more fiberglass, and with the internal aluminum structure on this one, to make them a legacy piece that will last a lifetime. There should be absolutely no droopage, there should be no deformation. Now, I wouldn't want to say they were tough because I don't want people to throw them around, but they should be durable. And fiberglass, you can achieve, structurally that you can build furniture out of it. So, it should be good. And then with that metal frame inside, it's unusual when you see the proportions, because as a proportional ship, this one in physics terms makes no sense at all. The nacelles are way too thin, and the main hull structure, so we do have to kind of counterbalance that with real world physics, which is fun.
You don't have to deal with gravity in space.
I know, gravity sucks, right? And I am not a rocket scientist, so we rely on smarter people than us to work this out.
All right, from the Excelsior, I want to go with one last ship. We're going to move into the next generation.
And there she is.
There it is. This is the one I grew up with.
A personal favorite of mine, and this is the one that doesn't get so much love, which is, I don't get it, because just look at it. I mean, they're all epic, but this one, I don't know, we feel at home on it. Is that the right turn of phrase? You know, you spent so much time in the seasons, and that was the thing we don't get nowadays. That was that once a week thing. You'd watch the show once a week, and each week you'd get a little bit more glimpse inside the ship, and you'd learn that they had this and they had that, and there was obviously it was all filmed in the same sets, but to me it felt real again. It felt like a ship that I could go and visit one day, and sadly I can't, but I can do this. This is as close as I'm ever going to get.
What strikes me so much is the depth just on the surface, just on the patterning on those windows. There is so much depth that you see. It's not a smooth sphere.
No, it isn't.
A smooth saucer.
But it appeared on screen, I guess, with the resolution being much, much lower, you know, there was no 4K. It did appear to be smooth, but all of that detail adds, as you said, that three-dimensionality, and it does look like individual little hull weld lines and seam lines, just like, again, a naval battleship. If you've seen one up close, they're a whole bunch of little pieces. They're not one big cast piece. But yeah, she is a beautiful ship. They've been joking about her on Picard in mean ways, and I don't agree. I'd say she's sleek.
That was the setup
of course.
for the finale, right?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yeah,
and wasn't that great when she just came out? Like, didn't you get the goosebumps thing with the... And this appeared, not this specific one, but the model maker who built the one in Picard Season 1 that we see in Picard's archive. It's sitting on a table in a back shop, but it is this model at this scale.
Oh, wow.
And it was actually modified ever so slightly from the TNG model for that show, but we're doing the TNG version. There were some slight revisions, and I think they were just a time thing. But yes, they still produced a physical model, and it was filmed on screen, so theoretically a miniature.
So something like this prototype, kind of like a screen use.
As close
pedigree.
as I guess. Screen use heritage behind it.
Yes.
Definitely the DNA is there. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. And the idea is for this line, if it's successful, more ships. More Star Trek ships.
I want to do all the ships, all the time, all the day. That's we can't really do individually commissioned ships because practically it doesn't make sense. But the fine folks at Paramount have given us a huge amount of leeway to basically say, pretty much any ship, as long as it existed and as long as the reference is there and as long as it can be provenanced. Because some of the models may not be the best thing to replicate because they were done for 30 seconds of footage and they're very primitive and basic, and when you make a giant version of them and look at them and go, well, that's not very fulfilling, but maybe we can do some, I don't know what you want to call it. I don't want to say we're modifying the model. Maybe if there's a few things we can add, maybe if it was only ever shot from one side, maybe we'll fill in the other side. Maybe we'll add the lights that you don't see.
You're talking like a prop replicator.
It's a sickness and I got it.
Well, speaking of the prop replication, that's what you guys, the business you guys are in. I'd love to take a look at some of those models
you
guys are announcing here.
Yeah, walk this way.
All right. All right, Barry, so Factory Entertainment, you guys have been around for a while making replicas, and you obviously have the Star Trek license, but tell me about the ethos of the company. Like, where are you guys from and what do you guys do?
So our DNA is prop replicas. We were all former employees of Master Replicas, which is a company that many people fondly remember. Our owner and president was one of the original founders, and it never goes away from you. When you got to make some of those amazing things. I mean, they were groundbreaking. We were one of the first people to do it in the way that it was done, and it was really sad when that kind of went away. And we've wanted to maintain that ever since. And from almost day one, we've been around now since 2011-12. We've been doing a steady stream of prop replicas from all sorts of licenses. And when we managed to finally obtain the Star Trek license back again, it was like coming home. It was nice to get back and finish. The last project I worked on at Master Replicas was the Tricorder, which was a sort of a semi-aborted project. It was released, but we never released that many, and it was a shame that we never got to do it properly because the company was in winding down mode at that point, and I always wanted to go back and have another chance. They say you never get do-overs, but luckily I got a do-over.
Well, that's what you guys are announcing here at Comic-Con. Not only a phaser rifle from First Contact, but also a tricorder.
Yes.
TNG.
Yes.
Can we take a look?
Here we go. You want to do the honors, sir?
I'd love to. So,
only a
tricorder.
prototype. Yes.
Only a prototype.
Only a prototype.
Okay. And when you say do it right, that's what I want to pick your brain on. What do you mean by doing a prop replica right? Not only for fans, but also as a product.
we want to try and get, here's, the real, let's give away a secret to prop replicas here. There's never one prop.
Yes.
And they're different, and they change, and they get used over the course of a production, and demands of a production can be such that the producer might call for this and it has to be done quickly or modified. So what we're trying to do with our Trek line is to do replicas that replicate the props as a homogenized whole. So
an ideal.
It doesn't replicate the precise prop, because as we both know, and beautiful as many of the props for Trek were, many of them were not.
No, I've seen some go for auction.
They didn't function, and you got little stuck on labels. Yeah. And if you're going to buy something like this, it's an investment piece. It's something you're buying for forever. It's a legacy piece, and you want something that you're going to own and keep and hopefully pass down to your, whoever. And you don't want something that's going to start looking broken and old and worn. So where it might be a sticker, we'll replace it with an LED. Where it's battery powered, and again, this is only a prototype, the final piece will be full metal. Now, none of the props were metal, but I don't know about you, and this is where it gets down to personal choice. And I get to be the guy who makes these decisions, and I appreciate the weight of that legacy, but I always assumed and thought that these should be some sort of metallic, futuristic material.
Well, you could see
that's
even
what the replicas are going to be.
On what Beverly Crusher's holding, it reads as aluminum, even though, or some type of metal, even though it
will be heavy. It'll have presence and weight. The hinges on the props,
oh my God,
they're very basic, and you actually can see it when you watch the show. Sometimes they're sort of miming the hinges because they were either broken, or the door would fall all the way open and then not stay shut. I've seen several where the door doesn't stay shut magnetically. We've had to modify them ever so slightly. So are they 100% screen accurate? No. But do they function? And will they function for years and years? And will they allow you to open and close the thing and repeatedly use it? I don't want to use the word play because I'll get shouted at, but let's say it's play.
Hey, that's we're going to be watching reruns.
Exactly.
I mean, it's what Adam says. It's about the experience. What he's looking for is a veracity of experience when he's holding it. And so that's what you're trying to deliver.
Yeah. My thing is, so this is how I've designed the hinges to give it, mechanical engineering or product engineering. And guys, if you hate me for that, I'm not right, because I'm not copying anything, and it's not meant to be a copy. But I'm trying to make you something that will work. And yes, you may disagree with my choice, and I totally accept that, because it's my choice, and I'm just doing this. As I say, it's a huge honor to do, but it's because I did it for a reason, and that's why. I'll never do anything just arbitrarily. And so that right is that term. Another one is charging. This, you're gonna have to play with this again. You want it to light up, but we need to light it up under modern technology. We can't have some magical power source. So you can charge it up with a USB-C charger, and it's been made to look fully finished, fully engineered.
I see.
And it will have a removable LiPo battery pack, so that when the battery runs down to the end of its life, you will be able to replace the battery. But again, it looks somewhat engineered. Again, it's not Star Trek would have had beautiful microcircuitry and things which do somewhat exist nowadays, but it's still out of the realms of mere mortals like us. We can't work in there. We're not Apple. Material will be metal. This will be machined aluminum, and it does work, and it fits in with the same mechanical way that the prop did. It's a ball catch, but it works, and we will have the sound and light features in there, and we'll have the chasing sequence. Again, this scanner with this tricorder, there were episodes where they used different ones, but as a homogenized whole, it represents, in my opinion, the tricorder.
What about tell me about the display and the animations?
Yeah, so that was fun, and that's another addition that really has been made up, because none of the original props had a display. So luckily now we have technology that gives us micro displays, and we have the ability to change them using the buttons. And they do roughly concur. And I always found it kind of weird that the medical tricorder would have geo, met, and bio, meaning geographic. And so what we've tried to do is using some of the LCAR's graphics that were so beautifully, that's one of the amazing things. You can't read them, but if you look carefully, you can read them, and they do respond to pieces that were used on the screen. The Akudas came up with this beautiful work, and this is a homage to them. And there's the eagle-eyed among people when they buy these may notice a few sort of personal hidden homages to them in there that I've hidden away. No Tom Servo robot in this one, but and
audio too. This is the clicky.
Yeah, and you got to get that right.
You got to get that right.
And man, did we spend weeks and weeks trying to get that right.
The sound of a tricorder is so important. I love it.
I tell you, whoever
so
designed that prop, it is frustratingly hard to replicate that in real life. Something you think would be so simple, and I'm like, yeah, easy. 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, I'm pulling my hair out like, I hate this sound.
Yeah. Are there projects that you get particularly invested in, working on a line of replicas? Like, I mean, you guys have a ton of different things from all different franchises.
I mean, again, the hardest part is picking them, and we can do a whole wealth. And I guess my favorite ones at the moment are the ones that are sort of in real time. We're working on the Strange New Worlds phaser, and that is amazing to get to talk to the production. And I can, we had sound effects done by the sound designer that didn't exist on screen yet, but as we know what a phaser does, and we know what Federation policies are, if you want to call them that, we know that it may need those sound effects. So they fantastically created them for us. So we've been able to create canon. I mean, it's amazing. You sit there and the 10-year-old in me is going, wait, I'm doing canonical Star Trek stuff? Like, wow, I mean, that really is exciting.
Well, it moves out of the realm of archaeology, which so much pop replication is, and into collaboration.
Yeah, and the dream scenario is for us to be able to do that and then have things that we've already put into a replica that no one's seen yet. Yeah. Maybe they'll appear in a future season. And, here's hoping.
Very cool. Well, Barry, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
showing me all these beautiful ships and beautiful Star Trek props.
No, thank you.
Star Trek is my jam. I can't wait to see these out in the world. It's great to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Hey guys, Adam Savage from Tested here. If you've ever seen the 6-inch ruler in inches and centimeters on my forearm and wanted one of your own, but you didn't want it to be permanent, well, today's your lucky day. You can now buy temporary tattoos of my measuring stick, my measuring forearm, at tested-store.com. Comes like this, goes on in about 30 seconds with a little water. The instructions are on the back. It comes off with rubbing alcohol, and hopefully it warms you up to the idea of permanently attaching a measuring device to your body, because I use mine every single day.